Good evening. My name is Susan Suck, 7024 North 16th Street, Dalton Gardens, Idaho. Thank you for giving us the opportunity to address you tonight. Since the proposed ordinance was published in January, I have had the opportunity to discuss this ordinance with other residents of Dalton Gardens. Everyone I've spoken to about this has expressed their opposition to allowing distributed antenna systems and wireless communication facilities in the residential zones. So why are we here? What's our purpose? We're here to seek a balance between the convenience and benefits of personal wireless service facilities and the rights of the Dalton Gardens community to the maximum extent allowed by law. That is our purpose. Now, what's the purpose of the ordinance as it currently is written? On the face of it, it's hard to tell. The ordinance does not give a purpose for the new rules. The ordinance sets standards for placing WTFs, or wireless telecommunication facilities, in the residential zone, but it doesn't explain why they must be placed there. And tonight we hope with our slideshow to tell you why they don't belong in the residential zone and where they should be. Next. Now, the ordinance does not distinguish between the different types of services, between telephone and internet services. It gives rights to the service providers that do not exist in the federal regulations. For example, the ordinance does not. I'm sorry, I just lost my.
Okay, I'm going to stop you. You're not going along with the slide. So my question for you is.
Into the slide right there. That's where I've just gotten lost.
I'm sorry, what now?
I was just getting into the. Oh, here's Tanya. They were just getting into the slide. The ordinance. Come on in, Tanya. The ordinance does not meet the legal requirements for NEPA review of every wireless communications facility. It does not regulate effective radiated power. It unnecessarily places industrial equipment in residential areas. Next. The antennas are heavy polluting industrial equipment. They just do not belong in residential neighborhoods. We propose that the antennas should go into the commercial zones. The output for the electromagnetic power through the air goes by many, many names, but it's deadly pollution. And it's 25 million times more powerful than what is needed for 5-bar cell phone service. This is like placing toxic dumps next to homes. Next. Dalton Gardens is only 2.4 square miles. For example, one macro tower placed in the commercial zone with proper setback and controls can cover all of Dalton Gardens. Next. Someplace like this, right along Government Way, is much more reasonable than placing it next to a home. Next. The legislative purposes matter. The Telecommunication Act, the purpose of the Telecommunication Act is to promote the safety of life and property. Next. The city has a duty to regulate wireless telecommunication facilities to protect safety and property, as mandated in the 1996 Telecommunications Act. We're allowed to limit carrier-specific signal strength, regulate horizontal, vertical, horizontal, and power for each cell tower. We are allowed to encourage or even prefer wired solutions to home for secure, reliable, and energy efficient and safe broadband. In fact, both TDS fiber and Ziply Fiber have already advertised wired internet service in Dalton Gardens. TDS has in fact installed underground fiber optic service west of 4th Street throughout Dalton Gardens. Next. Wireline wireline broadband and I'm getting feedback. Wireless broadband are not functionally equivalent services, not in the eyes of the law, not in actuality. The functionally equivalent services only means wireless telephone call. That means that the narrowly limiting federal regulations covering wireless telephone calls do not apply to internet services. That means that Dalton Garden can say no to wireless telecommunication facilities in the residential zone, that we can encourage wired services in the residential zone and restrict wireless service to one macro tower or even a series of smaller towers in the commercial zone. The end.
Hello.
Okay. All right, Ann, you
Hi,
ready?
my name's Ann. Yep. My name's Ann Wilder, and I live at 349 Primrose Lane in Priest River. And I'm going to continue this PowerPoint. Acronyms to the rescue. QES. This is something you can regulate. Quiet enjoyment of streets. You can RF EMR. That's an acronym for RF electromagnetic microwave radiation. Or ERP. This is effective radiated power, which you can regulate. WGF is a short for wireless telecommunication facilities of energy, and S is for those called small WTFs, and we put smalls in quotes because they're only small in size, not power output. VHP is what the city must regulate. You must regulate vertical offset, horizontal offset, and maximum effective radiated power. Otherwise, you've achieved nothing. Because remember, no one can bend the laws of physics or lie to one's biology. Next. Next.
There.
So here we go. Yeah, it's slow for some reason here. So SWTF, small cell towers. Look at what they've done in Boise. If you look at all of those little stars, those are what they call a small cell tower on their residential streets. And these towers are toxic exposure, igniting DNA mutations, health destruction, and violently aggressive behavior, especially in children. And if you don't believe me, hand your child a tablet computer and then take it away and watch them yell and scream at you. Next. Going too slow. Okay, so this, as you see, it looks like a small tower, but it's really a macro tower. The vertical is 50 feet off the ground. Horizontal is 20 feet away from homes, and the power is 10,000 plus watts ERP. The cell radius is 3 miles. That's way bigger than Dalton Gardens, and it lacks the UL rating for antenna and cable to operate above potentially lethal fire-prone electric supply lines. It's a serious OSHA violation. Next. This would be a workable VHP recipe for WTFs. So if a vertical is 200 feet off the ground, the horizontal is 2,500 feet from homes and schools, and the power is 50,000 watts of ERP, the result is 0.002 RF radiation units in your bedroom window and provides 5 bars on a cell phone, full telecommunications service. Next. So this would be a disastrous recipe, which is vertical 25 to 50 feet from the ground, antenna 10 to 50 feet from your home, and more than 10,000 watts of ERP. The result is 50,000 RF units in your bedroom window, which is 25 million times more than what is necessary. Next. So again, a workable VHP if you want to put little towers there. The vertical 25 to 50, horizontal at least 50 feet from homes and schools, and the power output is 0.1 watt of ERP, and the result again is 0.002 RF radiation units in the bedroom, and still provides 5 bars, 3 bars inside and 5 bars outside. Next. The beauty of 0.1 watt ERP is that it's smaller antenna and power supply. The signal goes down the street half a mile, provides 5 bars on the phone, and everyone, over 3,000 people at a time, can make a call. Plus, it's compliant with the FCC exposure guideline. What's not to like? Next. And you can monitor this by putting a friendly $5 fuse on these small towers and generate much needed revenue for Dalton Gardens. Cap the effective radiated power at 0.1 watt. So therefore, add to the Dalton Gardens Municipal Code for any wireless telecommunication facility that is, of course, I have pictures, that is installed in the public right of way or attached to any building. Make sure it has and the lower edge of any antenna is less than 100 feet off the ground. The applicant must install only antennas, radios, or supporting equipment that have no chance of exceeding total of 0.1 watt of effective radiated power. Oh, we lost you.
Okay, who's third? Tanya or Brooke?
Brooke.
Brooke, go.
Okay, so I just want to tell everybody I didn't make the meeting, so I'm going to do my best from what I'm seeing right in front of me.
Have you seen this before? Yes or no?
No.
Okay, so we're gonna show you, and then we're gonna give a chance to do it. Okay.
Okay.
So I mean, these slides have been available for the last 3 days, so hopefully someone sent them to you. I'm happy to email them to you right as we go. But essentially, what we're doing here is mostly pictures, and so yeah, you're gonna have to think of things to say. So I'm gonna do them quickly, and you'll get an idea of what's there, and then you can go back and pick and choose from what I've said. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So look. It is an aesthetic problem. The whole industry is trying to tell you it's only an aesthetic problem, but it's just not true. But these are ugly. I mean, take a look. This is really what's going on all over the country. What can you do? You scale it all the way down. You don't need big refrigerator-sized boxes on the ground or even big equipment stuck on a pole like this. You can make the whole thing work by scaling it down to the size of a Wi-Fi router. Okay? Well, look, this is what's happening in Boise right now. That's our big city. All right. Well, what's number one? Too much power. Number two, we're losing our privacy right in our streets. You understand? Millimeter waves can see through your skin. Okay. And here's the worst one. When you stick one of these things in front of your house, you lose 25 to 30% of the property value. You're taking away from your residents hundreds of thousands of dollars just to help out some industry that doesn't need to do this at all. They could stick over in the commercial zone and be done with it. You only need one tower. Don't ruin our homes. Let me tell you, this is what's going on. Do you want this for yourself or your daughter or your mom? You walk out the door, they can see right through your clothes. Yes, that's true. These are millimeter waves. They can take these images. They can send them anywhere. Okay? This is why they've actually had to fix this at the airports, but this is what they're putting right on the poles, okay? What do we know? I mean, I'm a doctor, and I'm telling you right now, I've looked at the science, and they're direct neurological, cardiovascular, reproductive blood harms. What does direct mean? Hey, it doesn't mean at 10 years from now. It means in day 1, day 2, day 3. Yes, we could do live blood analysis and show you this is a problem. The leading scientists of the world are trying to reclassify this from group 2B, which is possible, to a group 1 definite human carcinogen. This is going to happen within a year. All right. So what do we know for sure? It suppresses melatonin in your immune system. This is a terrible thing to do to a neighborhood during COVID-19 times. And the worst part is it's involuntary. Okay. What if I'm not a customer of this wireless carrier? It's still in front of my house. I'm still getting the signal, even though I get no benefit. Okay. Take a look at this. This is a little detailed, but just pay attention to number 1 on the page. There's 5 bars on a cell phone. Okay. And looking over to the right, it's a very low amount of power. Well, what's going on in Boise right now? You're up there around 10, 20, 50,000 on the streets. That's what's going on right now from these small cells. We've measured it. Well, what does that do? Leukemia, melanoma, bladder cancer, impaired memory, headache, dizziness. This is all in the science, folks. This is for real. And so at the end of the day, it's not a question of, oh, might there be a problem? No, no, no. This is a proven problem. This is where we are right now. Does it break your DNA? Yes, it does. How many times has it been proven? Oh, since 1995, it's been replicated about 6 times. All right. It's not a joke. So here's what we're doing. We have evidence in the public record right now of harms. Take the look at the one on the left. That's in Sacramento. Hey, at that yellow little arrow, there was a 3 and a 6-year-old girl. What happened? They got sick within the first 3 weeks. They didn't know what was going on. They took them to the doctor. They got a diagnosis. And what they finally had to do is spend $10,000 to shield their house and pull their kids out of that bedroom. Look, they're getting that tower down. This is just unconscionable that you do this in front of people's houses. Well, why is that? Why is it so high? Well, because they're trying to go out 3 miles beyond this house. And that's what they're doing here in Dalton Gardens. They're going to put these things up and they're going to go beyond Dalton Gardens. Don't let them do it. Just make them have enough power just to do Dalton Gardens. So that's in Sacramento. The one in the middle, that woman had a bloody mass removed from her head after 3 months of sleeping in that window 12 feet from that cell tower. That's exactly what happened in March. And the one on the right, that woman lost 23% of her house value. She couldn't live there for 1 day, all right, because they were put this right in front of her house. She was already sensitive. They call it electromagnetic sensitivity. And it's recognized by the Federal Access Board. It's American Disabilities Act disability. So you can't be doing this. You can't be putting this right in front of people's homes. Here's what's going on. Take a look at the bottom one, the macro cell. You see that thing? That's 200 feet off the ground. Look, we have these all around us and they work just fine. 200 feet off the ground, 2,500 or more feet away. And by the time the radiation gets to us, 2 things have happened. Number 1, we can all make phone calls. Number 2, it's not so much radiation that's going to hurt us. Okay. Hey, look at the one above it, small cell. This is the one that is in Sacramento. We measured it professionally. So here we are, 60 feet away, 35 feet off the ground, and this is 50,000 average radiation units. Quick math, 50,000 divided by 0.002, 25 million times more than needed. It's out of control, completely out of control. These are macro towers right outside your house. This should never, ever happen. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it was beautiful.
Okay, so give it a shot.
Give it a shot.
Oh, she's
All right.
Now I'm going to tell you that I have recordings of me doing this on my website. So you can actually, listen to my recordings if
Yeah.
you want.
And you're recording this right now,
Well,
too.
I hadn't yet, but I can. Hold on.
It says it's recording, hon.
It does?
It does. I
All
see
right, good
it.
enough. Good enough. I guess
Someone-
I am. So you can record, you can go back and listen to me say it.
Great.
All right. So now I'm going to put that down and let you go forward. I'll do the slides.
I
Ready
can
to-
see the slides.
Yeah.
Oh,
Are
I
you
can't
there?
see this.
I'm waiting for the slides. I don't see them. I'm sorry.
You don't see the slides?
I just see you.
Oh, okay. Hold on. I'm excited. I'm not sharing at some point. I got to share again. Let's see here. How do I do this? Yep. Nope. Sorry. Yep. Not there either. What's going on? Here we go. Share. Back to the slides, which are here. And I will share. And fill it.
Okay.
Okay. You can see slides now.
Yep. Can we go back 1 slide, please?
We sure can.
All right, as you can see, we have here the very ugly options available for the for the new wireless tech, but this is not just an aesthetic problem. We have to drastically reduce the power output in order to get, and that'll give us still, we'll have the same benefits of the cell service that we need, but if we reduce the size of the equipment, we're gonna keep beautiful aesthetic of Dalton Gardens that we all are here for, that we all love about our town, without having these big giant refrigerator boxes in our front yard or all these wires tangled everywhere. So you can see right now, this is what's happening in Boise. We have 25 million times more power than is needed to get cell service. It's affecting the wildlife, it's affecting emotions and people. There's a loss of privacy that's occurring. There's a 24/7 surveillance that's going, and these M waves are millimeter waves. They're small enough that they literally go through the clothes and they bounce off your skin. They affect your system on every level. The other thing to be concerned about is the fact that one of these big giant towers or refrigerator boxes in your front yard is absolutely causing a drop in property values. We're looking at hundreds of thousands of dollars of loss for all of these boxes or poles that are within a couple hundred feet of homes or right in front of your home. So you can see here, this is what it actually looks like. This is the see through the closed portion of it. These millimeter waves, it's just like what they use in the airports. And because they are so transparent, you're literally looking at like what looks like a nude of someone. They're changing this in the airports because of this, but this is also a violation physically, not just for your privacy. So I'm a doctor and I've done the research on this. I did a paper actually for my doctorate about 5G. So I'm pretty aware of the impacts. So there are direct neurological and cardiovascular and reproductive harms and harm to the blood. And the leading scientists right now are pushing to change this from a group 1A, 2B to a group 1, a definite human carcinogen. It's known, and it should be within the next year that we're going to see that come out. So the other issue with the exposure to the RF is that it suppresses the melatonin, which affects all of our sleep and all of our hormone systems and the immune systems as well. And that's the last thing that we need, especially now during this pandemic. And the other thing is that whether or not we're using that particular cell company, we still have the exposure. If these things are in our front yard, we're being bombarded 24/7 and we don't get the benefit of the service. So over here, we're looking at this big slide, which shows us all of the power output scales. And you can see that if you go to that one area that's grayed up there, the 5 bars on a cell phone, all we need is 0.002. And we're gonna get the power that we need to have 5 bars on a cell phone. But what we're having, actually like in Boise, what's happening right now, it's up in the 10s, 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s. So we're looking at, you know, on the mild end of things, having issues with dizziness, fatigue, headaches, insomnia, all the way up through to bladder cancer, melanoma, leukemia. So does this affect our DNA? Yes, it absolutely does. It breaks the DNA. That has been established, and you can look it up. It changes our DNA when it breaks it. So we already know for a fact, we have evidence that 4G and especially 5G is much more harmful to the residents. We already know it's harming the residents. So in Sacramento, we already have C on the left here, 60 feet from the home, the child's window is where that arrow is. She was sick, and after a month of family, you know, we're looking around trying to figure out what was going on. They ended up spending $10,000 to remediate the issue and protect the home to shield it from the beams that were coming from that tower that was put up. The woman in San Francisco, she was diagnosed with a brain tumor. This was, did you call it a bloody pulpy mess? Came out of her head.
Yeah, it's essentially a golf ball sized blood clot that was right in her brain. And so look, the diagnosis was brain tumor, and then they did the biopsy, and they don't think it was a tumor at that point, but it's just very odd that they got such a large blood clot right there in her brain right away. She didn't have this problem in November when they turned it on, but she had speech problems in late February.
Yeah. So they removed the golf ball sized blob, bloody blob from her brain. And that was removed in March of 2020. And after just 2 months of being, I guess, exposed to it. And then on the far right, we got the Santa Rosa home. This woman ended up selling her home because she couldn't even live there. She had a sensitivity to the electromagnetic frequencies. So she couldn't even live there for a day. When that thing went up, that was it for her. She had to get out. And unfortunately, because of this ugly box and wires and such in her front yard, her home went for 23% below market value, a huge loss. So the small WTFs are falsely branded. They are small in size, but not in output. They are in fact 25 million times more potent, more powerful. So if you look at it here, again, we want to fortify that we have a high distance and a wide horizontal distance so that the power is sufficient to still get us what we need without bombarding our bodies all day long. And if you look at this here, the mathematics is divide the 0.002 average radiation units of a macro cell with 200 feet distance and 2,500 feet horizontal distance. If you compare that to the small cell, 35 feet distance off the ground, 60 feet distance horizontally, you get the 50,000 average radiation units. That's 25 million times more powerful. It's way above and beyond what is needed.
Okay, so is Tanya here?
I am. I'm here.
Okay, you ready to go?
I am.
Here we go.
We were once wrong. Remember when surgeons never used to wash their hands? We were once wrong. Asbestos was thought to be harmless. We were once wrong. Cigarettes we thought were harmless also, and many people died of lung cancer as a result of smoking. We were once wrong again with lead in our gasoline. We also had lead in our paint. Is that enough just to say that? We were once wrong.
That's, I'm not trying to put you too fast. Go ahead. You just keep going.
Okay, we were once wrong with lead in our gasoline. And from 1996 to 1999, it was very high in 1976. And as we phased it out, well, our lead levels reduced drastically in 20 years when we took the lead out of many products. We are wrong again. Wireless carriers, have they earned our trust? If nothing to worry about, why these signs? Caution, cell tower, microwave frequency. Okay. Actually, small wireless telecom facilities installed in residential areas are hazardous to your family. It harms public safety with a constant pulse data modulated radio frequency electromagnetic microwave radiation suppresses melatonin, immune system, causes direct neurological, reproductive, and
Okay, so I'm gonna encourage you not to read the whole slide.
Okay, all right.
So just because we already kind of said this, and so we're being a bit repetitive, just, get the main 3 points in red because we've already gone over it.
Okay, that's correct.
As a review, these are the 3 main harms we see. Public safety. Now, here's the one thing you can say about public safety. You can pause on public safety. It harms public safety. What is your reason for being in a town government? It is to provide public safety.
Yes.
No matter what else is going on, you are responsible for providing public safety. We are giving you evidence this will not provide public safety. Something like that, right?
Okay. All right. Yeah, I'll put it in my own words. Okay. Number 1, harms public safety. The one thing that you are required to do is provide public safety. And a small WTF antenna output is 25,000 plus watts, which is very excessive when all you need is 0.1 watt for 5 bars on a cell phone for call. It also harms privacy and it harms public property values. Okay, okay. 4 and 5G small wireless telecom facilities were never intended to be placed in close proximity to homes, not in the eyes of the law. According to the 1996 Telecommunications Act, a conference report, quote, I can't see that because the thing's in the way.
We'll just move the people so you can see it.
The people, I don't know how to do that.
Well, just grab whatever you see and move it out of the way.
Okay, not intend that if a state or local government grants a permit in a commercial district, it must also grant a permit for a competitor's 50-foot tower in a residential district.
Okay, let me stop you again there. The reason that I do the red is that you have a chance to jump and say just the red stuff to kind of get it across. They will generally go back and read yourself. So where people kind of check out on slides is when you read every word of the slide. You see?
Oh, yeah.
You have to make it somewhat conversational. Okay.
Right. More conversation.
So let me give you a shot in how I do this one.
Okay.
All right. So look, here's the big thing here. We have the intent of the 1996 Telecom Act, okay? Did they ever intend to put small cells in front of people's homes? No. How do we know? There was a conference report. What does it say? We do not intend, hey, there's a key word, to have 50-foot towers in a residential district. It's right in the law. So what are we doing? We don't have to go along with this. This is the wireless industry wish. It's not according to the law. Hey, you know what else is not really legal? Is those 60-day shot clocks. Well, why is that? Because it says right here, it's not our intent to give these guys any preferential treatment. We're going to give them the same amount of time it takes to do a pool permit. Come on now. Something like that, right?
Okay, so no 60-day shot clocks. It's not the intent to provide preferential treatment to the personal wireless service industry processing requests or to subject their requests.
Don't read it all. Don't
I know, I'm just reading it. I know because I don't quite understand it. So.
Well, then you're going to read it later and understand it.
Yeah,
Okay.
I will. I'll go
So
over it
that's
some more.
about, preparing. So let's
Right.
keep going.
Okay. Okay, we need to force applicants to provide adequate insurance coverage. Self-insurance is a bait and switch. And then again, we have this is a total repeat, this slide of what I said before.
Is it?
Yeah, it is. It's a safety hazard, public safety harms.
You don't have to say what's on the slide. You want to, let me tell you what this is. This is me talking to an attorney. Okay. And the links on the slide take you right to this video. And just say, hey, when you get these slides, click these links, okay? Because they're going to take you to the video of this guy in front of all the books, and he's going to tell you exactly what's going on with the insurance problem. You have a huge insurance problem. You don't have to go on what is on this slide, okay? And the dark slide, you don't have to talk about that. You understand?
So should I read this? Should I do this one or not? Does this?
Yes, you definitely want to talk about this slide, but you don't want to talk about the words on the black slide. You want to talk about the guy sitting in front of the books.
Oh,
His name is Mark Pollock. You want to write that down?
Mark Pollock.
Markpollock.
Right.
So the point here is you have a big insurance problem you're not even aware of. And this guy is an attorney who went down the rabbit hole and figured it out for you. And if you click on these links, he's going to explain to you exactly the problem. The general liability insurance things that these applicants have, they have a pollution exclusion for RFEMR. There's no insurance. And you need to demand the proper kind of insurance.
Yes. Okay. I will have to work on that.
Okay. So what I'd also suggest you do is click the link and listen to him talk about it. So you have some expertise in it.
I will. I'll do that with
All
Mark
right.
Pollock.
So let's go past this slide then.
And then we have the current general liability insurance has RFEMR pollution exclusion. Lloyd's of London and other insurance companies I can't see the thing because it's covered.
Okay. So
Anyway, I'm going to end up
it's a familiarity thing. So the thing you're going to want to do on this one is go to the quote and just read them the quote. That's all you need to say about this slide.
The quote, the Lloyd's excludes any claims arising out of, okay, just that quote?
Just that quote, because that's right out of their damn policy.
Excellent. Good. Okay. Next.
Okay.
Dalton Gardens is a joint venture partner. Sufficient insurance must be required. And then I'm just going to end up reading it again.
No, you're not going to do that. You're going to.
I know. I didn't realize I was going to have to ad lib so much.
Well, yeah, you were going to have to ad lib. You're going to have to understand what you're saying.
Right.
So I'll take you through this one too. Okay. Look, here's the problem. If they're going into the public rights of way, you, the city, are a joint venture partner. And if they don't have proper insurance, well, you're holding the bag now. So if there is a claim, these guys are designed to go bankrupt. And, the lawyer's not going to stop there. They're going right after you, the city. And you're going to have to pay these claims unless you put this in your ordinance. You get control of this. This is a huge problem with your current ordinance. So how do you do it? How do you handle it? Well, first, you make much more stringent requirements than your code has. We got to know who you're dealing with. That means we need to know who's the full board of directors on the application. All right. What's going on a lot of times is that these little shell companies aren't who you think you're dealing with. You think you're dealing with Verizon, but you're not. And so this is a way to know who you're dealing with. And then once you figure out who that business really is, well, then you want to check their licenses and make sure they can actually do business in the state of Idaho. Sometimes they can't. And then you want them to go and require actual insurance policy. Let's see it. Let's read the whole policy. Because we can't actually go by anything you tell us. Oh, trust us. We have enough insurance. No. Do the due diligence. Okay?
So
the bottom line is, if you're going to go forward with one of these small companies, you're going to have to demand that there's some way that they put sufficient assets on the table to handle the claims. Because otherwise, you, the town, have to pay them.
Okay. All right.
Okay? That's what you'll learn from listening to Mark's video.
Okay. I will. I'll do that. Okay.
All right. That's fine. So is this me now?
I believe so.
One, or is there somebody else?
Yep. Nope, it's you.
Okay. Well, listen, thanks very much. I'm just going to try to take you through more slides to get you to the end. Now, I'm not part of this group, but I actually help communities all around the country. And this is the one thing I see. What is the biggest problem? You think it's technical, but it's not. this is the biggest problem. We have been victims of 25 years of propaganda from the wireless industry. So all of us are kind of thinking too far inside the box. And what we have to do is forget about all those things that we've been indoctrinated in and think and go back objectively to the original documents to figure out what the story is. A lot more power rests with the city than you've been told. You've been told your hands are tied, your hands are tied. That's just not true. Right? Well, no, you don't laugh when I say it.
Oh, okay.
You laugh whenever they say it.
Hands are tied.
Okay. So look, here's what you don't think is true, but it is. The regulation of the operations of cell towers was never preempted from your local zoning authority. There are links on this page. It's going to take you to places to learn how to do that. But here's the deal. You have a duty to provide public safety. You're going to have to get control of this to figure out how to get out of the box. Listen, you're part of a cooperative federalism. What does that mean? Whatever's not claimed at the federal level passes to state and locals. Whatever's not claimed at the state level with your PUC code passes to you, the city council. The answer is in Idaho, you've got a lot of freedom. You don't have a bad state bill over you. And frankly, all that stuff at the federal level is very, very specious. And the 1996 Act does a very good job, and your case law does a very good job of laying out what your duties and responsibilities are. So that's what we're going to do. You don't have to get bullied here. They're trying to do that. But we will tell you what the federal government tells you. Here it is, 47 U.S. Code 324. This is part of the act. It says, in all circumstances, all licensed radio, that's a cell tower, shall use, that's a must word, the minimum amount of power necessary to carry out the communication desired. There it is. You don't have to sign up for all this extra power. And if you wanted some more time to put your ordinance together, you could actually put a moratorium in place. A lot of cities have, and they just, because we're in a national emergency, it's called COVID-19. And the FCC order from August 2018 allows you to do this, okay? Look, how much power is needed, okay? We talked to the FCC about this in October 2019, 2020. We got them on the phone, and we said, look, we found this thing. Does this apply to cell towers? And the answer is they do, because every cell tower is a radio station, and it uses a license from the FCC. We got it straight from the chief of the Wires Telecommunications Bureau. It's right up on our website, okay? Here it is, Garnet Hanley, and she said the following. Well, when we modified our rules back in October 2019, we started treating small cells as a federal undertaking and a major federal action. It makes it just like big cell towers. There is no special benefits for small cells anymore. They lost it in the courts. The FCC admits this. The wireless industry doesn't want you to know that. All right. Look, there's another side of the coin. That's what you have to look. Instead of our hands are tied, actually, you can do a lot. You can regulate the operations of these cell towers. Instead of FCC orders or laws, most of them are not, particularly that one from 2018. That's a statement of preferences only. Instead of a lazy, the courts have said, the only courts that matter to you are the U.S. Supreme Court and the D.C. Circuit and the Ninth Circuit. Guess what? We have really good decisions in the Ninth Circuit. You don't have to go by these terrible decisions in the Second or Fourth Circuits. So what do we know about 18-133? This is what the wireless industry keeps telling you. They say, oh, well, because of this, you have to change your code and let us in. That's not true. Who tells you that? Andrew Campanelli, the #1 telecom attorney in the United States. He's won 7,000 cases against the wireless industry over 28 years. Here's his quote. I don't think FCC 18-133 has any effect on the ability of towns to control the placement of wireless facilities at all because, one, it cannot take away the powers preserved to towns by Congress. Number two, it cannot wipe out 20 years of federal judges' interpretations. Number three, it cannot strip you, the local governments, of 20 years of zoning laws. You've got it all. You got all you need. And so, look, he has taken this to court. And the judge told him, quote, it's not up to the FCC to put words in the Telecom Act that aren't there. Hey, the wireless industry is trying to tell you this. Your planning person's trying to tell you this. It's just not true. So why don't you listen to the people who really know? And that would be Andrew Campanelli. And the link to his video is right there. All right. This is the Ninth Circuit ruling from August. Again, this is about 18-133. The wireless industry says, oh, we won, we won. The answer is they didn't. They actually lost it. And so what's going on is several things were vacated, and the whole thing was declared an interpretive order. meaning it's a statement of preferences, meaning you do not have to treat it like law. You can challenge any one of these things that you want in local court. Look, we have good case law. Sprint v. San Diego, 2008, Metro PCS San Francisco, 2005. There are links right there. Your city attorney can read those cases and tell you exactly what they say. And they tell you specifically, you don't have to go anything if you don't have a significant gap. All right. So look, this was the ruling. Let's not talk about, oh, what's some articles say? These are the exact words from the judges. We grant the petitions as to those requirements. We vacate these portions of the rule and we remand them back to the FCC. That's a clear loss, folks. Okay. Well, why? Because it was arbitrary and capricious. We didn't do our homework and it's contrary to the controlling statutory provision. Okay. So the bottom line is the wires industry is the whole small cell agenda is crumbling for our very eyes. And the wires industry saying, oh, don't look at the facts. Oh, we'll tell you otherwise. You don't have to believe that. Okay, you actually have the duty to do this kind of work. So look, you can take these links and learn from a bunch of other cities. Okay, hey, that this a place in Sacramento that was carefully studied, that was professionally measured. That's minus 10 dBm in a bedroom. You have to understand that's much higher than minus 85 dBm. There's no need for it to be that high. It's just because it's not well designed. Okay. You can learn from Thousand Oaks how people get misinformed. They end up going into lawsuits. You can learn from Seaside how you can safely say no to cell towers and not get sued. Hey, you can look at San Francisco and you can look at how people put appeals together to show that most of what shows up on a wireless application is fraud. And if you do that, they realized if you caught them and they pull the applications. Okay. Here's the best ways to fix the problems. Like again, right here. The one thing we didn't point out earlier is when you want to look at the power, when you put them right here in the middle to the left, right with that first arrow, that's where the big cell tower should go. By the time it reaches the other side of town, you know, it's not very far. It's only 2.4 square miles. Well, then it should be no more than minus 105 dBm. That means that you don't blast the whole town to go beyond your town. If they're coming inside your town, you make them serve your town only. All right. What does that do? That respects the people that are closer on Valley and Colfax. You're not blasting with too much power. Look, the wires industry is going to come in and try to blast 10, 20 miles away. Well, that means you're really going to mess up those people on Valley, Colfax, and Davenport. You don't want that to happen. To save those people, you cap the power. That's how you do it. And look, you only make one tower and you put 3 sets of antennas on it, right? And you force them all to go there. Because again, you're 2.4 square miles. There is no need for anything more than one tower. All right. And this is why when you are actually in the main beam of radiation, that's when it's the highest. So when antenna gets lower, it's much, much worse. So you don't want these things low to the ground. You want them very high. There's a very strong legal footing. This is a link on the left for your city attorney. There's the Kiowa case, the Mozilla case, the Irregulators case, the local government case, and just in January, Environmental Health Trust and Children's Health Defense. Looks like they're going to win that case too. The small cell agenda is crumbling. We don't have to go down this path. Okay. We're going to skip over some of this other stuff. It's more background information about electromagnetic radiation. But the main point here about is that when you put a whole bunch of frequencies out there, they add. And so none of the guidelines even can look at this. And this is a real problem for us. This is what they're trying to do. You see all that stuff to the right, that millimeter wave stuff, they're probably not putting that in your town. They're going to be over on the left. But the one that they're really bringing in now is that 3100 to the 4900 stuff. That's a lot of bandwidth. It's a lot of power. So you don't have to actually go along with this plan. Here's your choice. This is your solution. Why is that? You already have multiple companies doing this. Put the fiber directly to homes. That's it. And once you're in a home, guess what you can do? Wi-Fi calling. That's right. We don't have to worry about in-building coverage at all. You just turn on your Wi-Fi router, you turn on your phone, say Wi-Fi calling, and boom, you can make any call you want in America right there, right off of the internet that you got from your fiber optic cable. All right. So big data by wire, small data by wireless. You can do that with one cell tower in your town. We went over these key points. I think you know them already. We just want to thank you very much for the time.
Thank you, Paul.
Okay. How did anybody time me?
We're at 5:25. Oh,
No, for when I started. Does anybody know when I started?
don't know.
Well, I can see it on the video. So that's essentially how I would bring it home. And I don't want to make sure I don't go over or repeat too much of what you said. Okay.
30 minutes.
So the answer is certainly, I know this like the back of my hand. I mean, that's why I
Yeah,
can
you
do
do.
this very quickly. And for others who haven't studied it, then, you know, you have to do a little bit of studying to get your section down, but you do
Right.
want to talk about it conversationally. I mean, Brooke,
Yeah.
you did fine. I mean, after hearing it just once, but the fact that you're a doctor makes it a really good section for you to do. Okay.
Yeah.
So I would say that your slides are in fairly good shape. Okay.
I think so.
So I'm going to stop the slides right now. And now we're going to go to see the web page.
Is it worthwhile to point out the fact that Dalton Gardens already paid through their taxes to have that wireless? So there's no-
Well, you know, kind of, but how did you pay through your taxes to do that? Do you know?
over the past 10 years, I think it was, right, ladies?
Yes,
Oh,
ma'am.
not the wireless, the wired.
The wired, sorry, the
I-
wired,
Wired.
the fiber. yeah.
The
All right, it's a lot more
Regulate.
nuanced than that, just so you know. So, I mean, I'll explain it to you, but you might make the point, you may not make the point, because here's the problem. Look, you already have people willing to bring fiber in, and that's not true of many communities.
Yeah.
So take advantage of it. You don't have to play that card necessarily to get the fiber in. Okay. But here's the deal. There was a whole bunch of extra charges that went on phone bills, landline phone bills, for the express purpose of bringing fiber to the home.
Wow. Yeah.
And they should have done it. And the wireless industry obviously lies all the time. Or the telecom industry lies. And they basically said, well, it's expensive. We're not going to do it. We'll just, you know, pretend we're doing it. And we'll still get all that revenue without spending all the money. And then at one point, they started saying, well, we'll move some of that money from our fiber business over to our wireless towers. Well, that was illegal. And they did that for a long time. And it's bad, but they kind of covered their tracks. So they stole this money legally. Right? So now you sit down and go, well, what can we do at a state level? Well, you can change the accounting to affect what goes on in the future, but you won't necessarily go back and be able to get the money. The money's already out the door, right? So it's not as big a win as you think, unfortunately. And you don't have to make the point because it's a long way to explain to someone when you're already trying to get a bunch of other points across. I mean, what are the three things we want them to remember? Okay. Number one cell tower does it. If they remember that, then you win. Right? You write your ordinance to allow one cell tower into your town, and that's it. None of the small cell stuff, none of it happens. If you're going to put a small cell up, it's got to be in the commercial area. You do it through zoning. If you get that, you win.
Mhm.
If you don't get that, and they're forcing to go into the public rights of way in the residential areas, then you have to fight hard to make the equipment small and cut down the power more. And that's a harder argument to win.
Mhm.
So I think the first one is got to be the takeaway. One cell tower would do it. Just one. We're 2.4 square miles. Let's get a clue, folks. We have a topography and a need that's very different than Boise, very different than Coeur d'Alene. Let's do what's right for us. That's the whole point of local control, because we are unique. We have one commercial area. Put it there. Done. They don't have another thing to do. The only thing that we're not talking about much here is significant gap in coverage. And that should be, I guess, point 2, because that should be a requirement for any time they put a tower in. So if there was going to be a change in the slides, I guess that would be it. I would add more significant gap and talk more about it. Does that all make sense?
Yep, it does.
Yep.
Where would you
Okay.
put the
Oh,
significant?
is there anybody in the waiting room? I'm sorry. Is there
No,
anybody waiting?
I don't think so.
Can you check?
I'm looking
Oh,
right
because
now.
Penny
I
was
don't see
going
it.
to join us.
Well, I don't see it right now. So let's just go on to share in my browser, wherever that is. Here's one. Share. Okay. I made some progress on this page today. Okay. So I took your asks and things off the page because this is one that I think you want to share more publicly.
Yeah.
Okay. So I start off with a little bit of those acronyms just so they know what we're doing. And then I have different colored boxes. All right. And so yellow is our additions. Blue was stuff that they added. And green are some of my comments. I'm sorry? I didn't hear you.
Hi, Gary. Hi.
Can I have a bud poll and a leafing poll?
Okay, I'm hearing a bunch of background noise. So do you guys have a question or should I go on?
No, go on. People are arriving.
Oh, okay, fine. So this is new. This is purpose and intent. This came from the Malibu bill. And so I went ahead, you should read it, make sure it's something that you like and you would like to add as part of your bill, okay? So it goes on and on about whereases and what do we know and whereases and oh, by the way, we have to now go ahead and, write something up, okay? So please read this and make sure you agree with it, okay? Then I have this other little side note to try to tell them, well, these are the principles behind this edit, okay? And it's that, it's a bunch of fuzzy marketing out there, and we're going to go back to the original documents, and we're going to go back to the TCA, and you can look at the links to the two orders here. And what I'm really trying to get across to them is that this is just a presumptive order. And that's how we have to really just a list of preferences and not self-enforcing. And how do we know? Because the attorney for the FCC himself said so in court right here and here. And he said some pretty interesting things. He said right here in court, well, a locality could say if a 50-foot pole would be out of character with the surrounding neighborhood, well, then it's okay to say you can't put up a 50-foot pole. Well, guess what? The FCC agrees with the conference report. Well, why are you trying to put these things in our neighborhoods? It makes no sense. So we don't have to do this. And this was them arguing for their order, and they admitted this, okay? And then they're also saying, well, they go up pretty far. We're getting lied to. It only goes down the block, 100 feet or 50 feet. That's a lie. They really do go out miles. So we don't want them next to our houses, okay? And this is the ruling that we had in the slide, but, it just says that we hold that these things, these aesthetic regulations, are not enforceable. Okay. And so why is it still trying to sell them as if they're real, but they're not? They've been vacated from the order. Okay. This is what they said about the shot clocks. Quote, this is the judges. The Ninth Circuit judges wrote, it must be remembered that the shot clock requirements create only presumptions. That's it. It's a preference. It's what the FCC would like you to do. Do you have to do this by law? No, you don't. So why would you ever write your law with 60-day shot clocks in mind? Don't, because that means they're using that as an excuse not to do discretionary review. And they're going to do only administrative review. Well, why is that? Oh, we only have 60 days. No, you have much more than 60 days. So, don't fall victim to these lies. Okay. So this is the great video of Campanelli saying this quote right down here. And this is Scott Novak himself saying all the things he says. So, I'm putting this here so that if anybody ever goes to this page, they can learn for themselves what's the basis for what we're saying. But this is Campanelli, which I said in the slide. It has no effect because, the FCC can't do all these things. And that's because they can't change the law. So even though it's a bunch of preferences, even though they want to go away from significant gap in coverage, you don't have to. Why are you buying this propaganda? Stick with what you've got. Stick with what will work in court. All right, these are all the definitions that I put in. I had made changes to that, but it's all tying things back to the TCA definitions, not these other hokey definitions. Now, it's okay to have these three still be there. I didn't actually take them out because they might have distributed antenna systems in a commercial zone. All right. And they have to know what a macro cell is. So it's okay to have some definition and to know what a utility support structure is. So I decided not to cross this out. I did cross out their WCF definition, and I made this one more detailed. Okay. And then I talk about this. Now, this is, I'm going to introduce it here. I'm not saying you should put it into your things that are in green are my comments, and they're not to be in the final code. Okay. But the reason I put it in with links was to try to explain to you what really happened. There was a definition for a small wires facility in this initial order in 1830 that came out in March of 2018, but it was vacated by the DC Circuit Court of Appeals in August, about a year later. Okay, but then what happened? Well, they were supposed to go back and reestablish the definition, but they didn't do it properly. And they wrote a little docket and they tried to get away with something. So at this point, the FCC has no definition of a small wires facility. And it treats them just like regular cell towers. So that's what's behind the FCC admitting this to us and why you don't need a special definition for small cell. It's not to your advantage to create a special category of small cell because the FCC doesn't even look at them that way. So that's why I left the small cell definition out. Okay. But I am saying that all this allowed use stuff goes away and where everything is in special use permit territory. And then I remove all references to DAS and small cell because we shouldn't define them as a special category. We should keep them as the large category of WTFs and not give them any special benefits. Okay. So that's all I've really mostly done here is take away references to distributed antenna systems. And then I get into telling everything should be just in commercial zones, not in all zones. And everything should have special use and conditional use and discretionary, which is different than administrative. You want this because that gives you all of your rights to appeal and everything else in a big discussion. Okay. And then we come in and they wanted to gang up on you. They wanted to have a single permit for multiple things all at once. Well, this is something they would pull off in a Boise, but they don't need to do that here in Dalton Gardens. So I wouldn't let this in at all. And then this is introducing the how do you prove you need it? That's the we want it test. So I stuck that in. And I also stuck in the 3 strikes and you're out program, I guess a little bit lower. Where is that? Compliance. Yeah, it's down there. Okay. So I think all this is pretty tight right here. And so you can read it and see if you have any problems with it. I left their co-location stuff in place. I did change the setbacks to be 1,500 feet from another WTF and 250 feet from a residence. Now, did anybody actually do the measurements? Did they figure out that if it goes behind a store on the east side of Government Way, how far it would be from a house? Anybody go do that?
I did, and we can change that to 500 feet and they can still have a little area where they can put their tower in the commercial district. It can be much further than 250 feet.
That's good. So what I'm saying is reasonable here. You're not going to want to put it right in the public rights of way of Government Way. It's going to be beside a building or behind a building. If it's beside or behind a building, are you still 500 feet from a house?
Well, 250 feet is awfully close.
No, I don't want this spitbally stuff. I want real measurements.
Oh, it's okay. There's 600 feet from the right of way to the residential district on a portion of our commercial district.
What portion?
In between Hanley and Aqua Circle.
Okay. Does it get less in other portions?
Yes.
What is it in the other portions?
In some cases, it's 300 feet.
So I think we're good at 250.
Okay.
You have to be somewhat realistic of what they could do. So I think 250 is going to be okay. I think if you put it 500, you might be in effective prohibition territory.
Okay.
Okay. So I think that 250 is all right. Adequate fall zone got in there. And now in compliance, I came up with this new thing called maximum input power allowed, MIPA. And this is the whole thing about trying to get it so that you're no higher than minus 85 dBm. Okay. And then the 3 strikes and you're out program are here. And I have the fee set at 10,000, 20,000, and 50,000.
That'll water their eyes.
I'm sorry?
That will water their eyes.
Well, they could do whatever they want. I mean, this is just us coming out of the gate with some numbers.
Right.
Okay. And so now I'm here in indemnification. So I'm almost at the bottom. Okay. And I haven't yet studied exactly what Mark did for Malibu, but I would stick it in there. And this is the problem, is that they're used to indemnifying regular contractors in the public rights of way that don't put out toxic pollutants, but this one does. And if they don't have insurance coverage for it, then this should be a no-go until they figure out a way to have sufficient insurance coverage. So it could actually, shut them down forever in your town if you get this in, and they can't get you on effective prohibition because all the city would say, hey, we're going to let them in. We just need better insurance coverage. And no court's going to say that's unreasonable. So this is very careful language that I'm going to maybe even give them a call to make sure I get exactly right. Okay. So that this box will probably go away because we'll get more specific for it. And then we're just down here in this whole thing of, they're trying to co-locate on this. And I may just cross this whole thing out because this is just all going down the wrong path. Unless we started off with this can only apply to commercial zones and then leave it all in, right? But that's the work I did on the code, just so you know. So it's pretty close. And then somebody should be going forward to sell this to Dalton Gardens. You shouldn't hold this back and think, oh, well, you just have to plan for the 25th. No. Shall be pre-sold to everybody. One-on-one meetings, all you can. You want to talk them through it. Look, the last slideshow is just like the show.
Right.
But all the work is done ahead of time. Okay, so this is the time for you to get meetings. You need to get meetings with your planning commissioners. You need to maybe get meeting with council members, maybe city staff. I mean, this is how you win. You don't sit there and go, oh, we're all planning for the slideshow. Oh, no, you're planning to negotiate your solution and celebrate with a slideshow. And that's the only way you're going to overcome your bad planning guy who's got the inside ear right now.
Right.
Okay, so yeah, it's getting numbers of people to come support you and doing this kind of lobbying. That's how you actually get something like this done. Now, the fact that you'll have pretty tight code to talk about probably by tomorrow morning, then you're way ahead of the game. That's good. All right, and that's exactly what you talk about. And do you need to go and print it? Not really. You can just talk them right off the webpage if you want. Anybody can make a PDF of this. I mean, it's easy to read. You could increase or decrease the font size. It's very simple, right? So whatever. That's the beauty of doing it on web pages. All right. Any questions?
Yeah, can you hear me, Paul?
I can.
Okay. You were talking to me earlier about how about people adding their sections there. I sent out emails to people. I know it's short notice to people to be able to upgrade their own section, based on, Selly Valley and, Coeur d'Alene and, would you go into that?
Okay. So moving out of the code, now we want to talk about your website, correct?
Yeah.
Okay. So in order to get to the website, we have to set up some people who could edit the website. All right. So I'm going to WordPress.com. And when I get there, I will log in. Okay, so I'm in. And this is one way to look at your site. But I'm going to go to the admin, and this is now under the hood. And this is the standard WordPress thing where you have either posts or pages. Posts are blog posts, and pages are evergreen content. All right. And we have one feedback form. Let's take a look. And that's me signing up, proving the form works. And it's going to the wireidaho@protonmail.com email address, and she did receive it. So at least our contact form is working. Okay. And this is where you will see people who sign up on your website, but you want them to sign up on your website. The whole point is to talk them into doing it. Okay. So I will go back to the list of pages to show you that we have a few pages, not many, right? We have just about, blog, contact, localities, and home. Okay. And so when I get to home, you'll see that there's an editing interface here. And this is the way that you can edit your page. Okay, so you can click on things and edit, and you can add a new box in over here. So there's ways that you can figure out how to edit the page. All right, and this is just what's on your home page right now. I can always go under the hood and see it more like a piece, like a code editor like that. But that's just for people like me. You don't have to do it this way. Okay. So there's a way to get under the hood if you need to. So at any point in time, if you wanted to, because I'm signed in, if I just wanted to see that page in for real, I would just come out here, make a new tab, and just put that in. It's wireidaho.wordpress.com. Okay. And let's see what shows up. Oh, it goes back to Wire Idaho. So Wire Idaho is live right now. And so here it is. So this is your big hero image. And then you have a menu, search, home, about, localities, contact, and blog. And this is your next big image. And then this is something to do with some 3 blog posts. And then here's your footer. All right. So it's a skeleton waiting for content. All right. And we need other large images like this, maybe one for each town. All right. In localities, I have just listed some links to the different towns. But the idea here is that then this would go to an Ada County page. And this would go to a Boise page. This would go to a Coeur d'Alene page, right? And it would show up in a menu right under localities.
Mhm.
So, I mean, it's just how do you want to organize the menu? And the menu itself, I mean, it's using the same theme that mine does. So I will just go here and show you that my site looks very similar when you get to the front. There's my big image, then there's my second big image. Okay, then I got some other stuff going. But here the menu can, there's locations, and then locations can have Idaho, and then Idaho could have sub-menu things. So you can have a lot of different pages if you want, but you don't need this many pages. You can just go for a smaller number of pages. All right. So that's what I know. So there's an under the hood thing, and I go back here to see the list of pages again, all pages, and I will leave this page, and it's time to make a new page. So we'll add new. Okay. And this one will be called Dalton Gardens. So it's just coming up, and I can pick one of these as a starting point if you wanted, or I'll just do a blank to make it simple, use the blank layout, and I'll just add the title for Dalton Gardens. And then content shows up here.
Okay.
Okay, and then when you're ready, you hit publish. So that's now a new page. I just made it. It's not yet on the menu, but it's a new page. If I wanted to view the page, I can view it right here. And you will see that it's a very plain page. It just says Dalton Gardens and content shows up here. So I have to think through, how would I make it nicer? I'd put a picture on it. I'd put other content on it. I'd do everything else. Okay. So if you go back to this page, I'm going to go back to admin and all pages again. Pages, posts are there, pages are here. There's all pages. I will go to this, which is content. And this is all the content from your website. Okay, so I'm just going to update it because I put XXX there. And then I'll get a little view page. You'll see it here. And this is all the content that was on your website right here. So this could be copied and pasted onto particular pages. And if any of these images are currently being picked off your other server. So if any of these images are important, we should move them into the WordPress server, into your local WordPress server. Okay. But there's a lot, you got about 10,000 words here to pick from, and you can decide what parts of the content you want to move forward. Okay. So that's all we are. We got a skeleton, and you got to think through what kind of structure you want. And then you reflect that on the menu, and then life is good.
Mhm.
Okay, so right now under localities, we don't have anything. I'll show you quickly how to, we got somebody who just came in. I will go back to the list of pages, and I'm now going to go to the menu, and you'll see that Dalton Gardens just showed up. So that was a new page I made. I'm going to add it to the menu. This is going to pop into the bottom. I'm going to put it as a sub to localities. All right, so that's where I put the Dalton Gardens page, and then I'll save the menu. And then the next time I refresh the page for Wired Idaho, that will be on the menu. So let's just go do that. And I will refresh this page. And then you'll see under localities, it's now got a sub menu for Dalton Gardens. See it? And then I can go to the Dalton Gardens page. So that's how it all works. Pretty simple. I'm gonna stop sharing.